Welcome, my 309 subscribers, everyone who's come back because of a certain news that we got about Vince McMahon, everyone who came back because of the Kenny Omega match at Wrestle Kingdom 17, and to those who never left, welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite, the new era. For the January 5th show, let's begin. So I'm going to start by addressing the new AEW set. It's a lot more screeny this time, and it works to extend the Titantrons of the wrestlers, and yeah, it looks pretty cool. Just look at Jericho's entrance. It's all nice and symmetrical. It even forms like an opening in the shape of a T as in Tony Khan. Overall, it's a nice change. I'm okay with this for the next 3 years. It might be too extravagant though for a TV show, but it's okay. It looks really nice. It just gives pressure to the ones in the pay-per-views. They have to put in a lot more effort on those just to not have Dynamite overshadow them. But yeah, nice entrance ramp. So for the first match, it's Chris Jericho versus Ricky Starks, with I think Ricky's best match to date. It flows a lot better, there's a lot less pointless lying around. The moves used were pretty varied. Well enough to keep my interest in the match. It's not just punches or like heel work the whole time, which is more than I can say for Ricky Starks versus Ethan Page. That had like a lot of that, just a bit more than what I can tolerate. The biggest, most dangerous spot of the match is like a suplex from the apron to the outside, and this is a bit overdone. I think these two dudes did a lot more interesting stuff in the ring that if you would take this like dangerous spot out, it wouldn't have mattered. Unlike in the Ethan Page match where the ego's edge from the top turnbuckle was like essential for enjoyment. No specific limbs are worked, but after this big spot, Ricky becomes the underdog. And like just to add to that, to add more interest in the match, to add more obstacles in our underdog babyface's way, enters Ange and Magic. They just get it as managers. Like, they can catch your attention because they like try to break up pins. Like, they try to enter the ring when Starks pinned Jericho. And when like Starks got suplexed outside, they like trash talked him as he's down. They get it. They're the ones who maybe I think benefited the most out of JAS. They could use some more tag team wins though. It's a long time coming for like another over tag team to join the mix. Ricky attempts a moonsault and then I think hurts himself upon landing down because they don't work on his leg after. They don't like bring attention to it. It just happens. Then they go back to the predetermined path. Yeah, just like fake work on the probably injured limb. Like hide it. Hide that there is something wrong that happened. But Ricky seemed fine after, so hopefully he isn't taken out for months. One of the top spots of the match, I think, is the Walls of Jericho. Starks reaches the ropes, he gets the rope break, but the referee is distracted by Ange on the other side of the ring, and then Daddy Magic hits Starks with a bat. This like takes him out. And so when Jericho pulls him back in the middle of the ring, it looks like he fainted, and there's a bit of inconsistency here. Like, the finish would have been just fine if it ended here, but on special occasions, the referee follows different sets of rules. It's either like a stoppage or like a 3-time hand raise spot. And when does it have to be one or the other? Because this is like similar circumstances to like when Danielson choked out Ethan Page. Why didn't the ref go for the triple hand spot? It just needs a bit of consistency. And then for the finish, Starks takes out Magic and Ange, followed by a spear to Jericho for the win. Post-match is a JAS beatdown on Starks. He's saved by Action Andretti, who's taken out, but then he is like destroyed. He's like low-blowed by the women. Andretti out. And then Hager powerbombs Starks from the apron to the table down below, extending the feud. So I like that Starks won. He got a big win over Chris Jericho, but like you could have extended the feud without having anyone win because we already got the payoff. What's the point? He already beat Chris Jericho. I don't see how this feud is gonna heat up more than it already did. This is when I think dusty finishes are okay. Or DQs. Or you know what? Just add a couple of pay-per-views. And is Action Andretti a star now? Dude just got like catapulted because he beat Jericho. We could be seeing like other people who have worked for the company longer and like actually deserve to be on TV. Like the House of Black. Or the Blondes. Or you know what? Even the Dark Order. Or La Facción. The match is a TV main event, pay-per-view undercard match. Top 3 spots are Ange and Magic's attempt to break up the pin after the Liger Driver, the suplex to the outside from the apron, and the Walls of Jericho bat spot. So after this, we have the Hangman Page promo. That leads to his in-ring return, and surprisingly, he doesn't turn it into a pity party. He cuts like a traditional wrestling promo. It's not the best because there's not much depth, but it has a banger line with, and I quote, "I will kick your dick in the dirt." And then Moxley comes out to respond, and he has a nice memorized line, but his mic fails him twice, and he has to say it 3 times. And man, just like change it up. The line got so old when it was said the 3rd time, and it was so memorized. I mean, like even if it like fit, it just did not hit that 3rd time for me. And I heard him on TV, like I heard him on Fight. So maybe I heard him 3 times, and then the TV crowd didn't, but I'm not sure. Terrible decision. And this, like, derailed Mox's promo, leaving him open for just Page to, like, tear him a new asshole. It's alright. It's not the best promo that they've cut. This could have done better. Payoff is next week, and it should have been held to a pay-per-view. Match is probably gonna be good. I'm expecting Hangman Page to win or Mox to turn heel. And then maybe we can extend it to the next pay-per-view. It can be a best of 2 or a best of 3, whatever. But March is a long ways away, and this just might end next week. I'm more interested in this feud than I am with the Jericho one. And yeah, still looking forward to the match, but build did not do it as much justice as it should have had. So yeah, my prediction is Adam Page wins the match. He becomes a regular on TV again, and I think that's the best thing we can get out of this, is that Hangman Page is on TV, active in storylines again. And so after this is the Darby versus Joe hype video, and Joe is such an amazing promo. Like, he's very intense and intimidating, calling Darby dead boy. He knows where to put the inflections. And I'm kind of sad to see what happens later on in the show, since Joe is pretty much the full package. He's also on fire right now. He's the dominant champion that MJF like can never be, since he cheats, and he has like a couple of years before he retires. And now Darby has the title after not much build. Like, it's just because of that Fire Sting promo as well as like being in Seattle. But yeah, I think the King of TV gimmick still has like legs on it. This could have been held to the next pay-per-view, but aside from that, this was like an effective hype-up video for the main event. So after this is the Acclaimed versus Jarrett and Lethal. And this isn't the payoff. That happens after like 2 days in Battle of the Belts, where the Acclaimed won in the superior match of the duology. So we start off with one of Max's best raps so far. The rhymes were like a bit of a stretch this time, but the Skip Bayless one and the Dixie Carter one were just like fire. As for the match itself, it was better than I expected. The Acclaimed are officially a team who can carry other teams to good matches now. The story is kind of like Omega mocking Punk, but instead Caster mocks Jarrett with all of the Kurt Angle stuff. Lethal has been downgraded to a sidekick who was subjected to all of like the mocking moves to Jarrett. So Angle Slam, Ankle Lock, it's like one of the top spots of the match. But the match becomes more than this, and Jarrett and Lethal start playing chess. They manage to get Daddy Ass ejected in a very good spot. Jarrett has a very showman style, and it still works. It's more taunting than moves, a lot of cutting the ring in half, a lot of showboating from the heels, maybe a bit too much. Lethal and Jarrett do some pretty cool moves, and they did so also in the blow-off at Battle of the Belts. So the finish is overbooked, but I think clever at the same time, because Satnam Singh attacks Max Caster, but he isn't DQ'd. The ref, rather than DQing them, like in true AEW fashion, like what we were promised, this isn't the WWE. They aren't disqualified, and we actually get like a better finish. That is pretty good justification for the rematch. Because like we get an army of refs just to like escort Satnam Singh out of the stadium. He is sent off, but because there are so many refs there, after Jarrett hits the stroke, Bowens is pinned towards the ramp, in clear vision of the refs, including Aubrey Edwards. The ref of the match counts the 3, Bowens gets his leg on the rope, but then Dutt pushes it off. But since there are so many refs there, Aubrey Edwards saw this and reversed the decision, continuing the match. But it also leads to the question in why AEW just doesn't send out all the refs. And yeah, I love this finish because it's like a you get what you fucking deserve moment. Bowens is rolled up by Lethal, and Lethal attempts to do a dirty pin, but Caster knocks off his legs to convert the pin to a Bowens roll up for the win. This is such a great finish. On one side, we have the heels trying to disrupt like a clean pin break, and after this we get the faces disrupting a dirty pin. Great finish. It's pay-per-view undercard. It's a very good setup, and this is how you prolong a feud. For me, this is like match of the night. So after this is Britt and Jamie's promo that hypes up the tag match. This is like a monkey wrench thrown into Soraya's plans, since Britt puts Shida and Tony over in order to drive a wedge between the two and with Soraya, so that whoever Soraya picks, the other person is going to be pissed off, is going to be like insulted, and that's what ends up happening. So yeah, so this was okay. Nice story setup, nothing like really spectacular and eye-catching, but it's alright. So after this is the Jungle Boy promo. So this one was a very average Jungle Boy promo. He sounds better when he's mad. He just sounds a bit too ordinary. He's like James from Twin Peaks when he's not mad. But the gist is he challenges Big Bill and Lee Moriarty in a tag team match with Hook, probably blowing off the feud because I don't see Bill and Moriarty winning. And I really think they should. I think it's a bad idea to waste Big Bill. Like just having him put Hook over, like it's like a nightmare scenario. But I predict Hook gets the win on Lee and Jungle Boy is gonna look inferior. Again, this shouldn't happen. Hook should feel the increasing quality of competition. And he should struggle. Like not be a monster at like 20 plus. Come on. Yeah, either way, I'm not gonna care about this feud anyway. I've pretty much accepted what happened, so yeah. So after this is Danielson versus Tony Nese. So this is a short match, about 3 minutes and 26 minutes, but it's a show stealer. And Nese manages to go toe-to-toe to hold his own against Bryan Danielson. He looks so good against Danielson here, but Danielson is just so high up in the card that he had no chance in winning. He managed to get some awesome offense like the buckle bomb, but ultimately loses via submission to an STF. This is in the usual squash spot of Dynamite, and this is a lot better use of that time. Like just have a high quality semi-squash. So yeah, top spot of the match is the buckle bomb as well as the Busaiku knee. Hopefully this makes Woods and Nese go up in the card. For fuck's sake. So after this is the post-match promo battle between MJF and Bryan Danielson, where MJF kind of gets exposed, but the promos are good enough to get him by, like to last him another week. The back and forth is a bit mean-spirited, but pretty well deserved by MJF. MJF insults Danielson's parents with bestiality, and Danielson basically tells MJF, "Tangina mo." And this popped the crowd. Just like search that word. But after like the low-hanging fruit, MJF turned on and became the heel among AEW's target demographic. Because the dude praises Disco Inferno, Eric Bischoff, and Jim Cornette in that order. Like just the perfect, but like now very over-the-top way. I mean, this is what exposes him. Because his promos are now like social media based. Like so much. It's not anymore about himself. It's about like people that majority of the fans do not like. I like Eric Bischoff the most out of the three, and I think he should have been given a deal. Unpopular opinion. Like, they really missed the opportunity with him, since they wanted to be like Nitro, and you had like the dude responsible for Nitro. Second is Jim Cornette. He's still very entertaining despite being out of touch, and like incredibly biased, and having like the worst fucking fans who like need his opinion to form their own. And the worst is just Disco Inferno. I didn't even watch this guy, but apparently he was an all-time great. Good on him. This is a genius way to draw heat, especially for me. But what is a bit repetitive is just like the gauntlet that Danielson has to go through in order to face MJF. Like, he's done this before with every one of his opponents. But I think they managed to like just barely like make up for this because of the stipulation. Danielson is allowed to pick the stipulation, and then he picks an Iron Man match. 60 minutes. I don't know if I can watch MJF for 60 minutes. It's probably going to be outshone by like the Elite match or anything else on that card, even the tags. But this is like a prime opportunity to like just catapult Max further up. But I do think it'll end up in a tie, and somehow Danielson is going to get taken out. And further down the line, I think he's going to be the one to take the title, or it's going to be Hangman Page or Kenny Omega. So yeah, the combination of the match and the segment, really good. I think the match is like TV undercard, but can be higher. And the segment is segment of the night. So after this is the Orange versus Kip hype up on Rampage. It's pretty much nothing, just like a hype video. And then this is followed by Swerve Strickland versus AR Fox. So apparently this is like a storied rivalry from Lucha Underground, but I didn't watch that promotion. It wasn't available here in my country, so I don't have any emotional investment in this. But I pretty much got what I expected, because I expected like some flippy shit, and they did so at the start, and it was like pretty cool. But I don't think they utilize Swerve at his best here, because he's in his home state. Like, you could have had him be heel and be loved without having him cheat. And AR Fox is like the inferior booked wrestler. Like, why cheat? This just makes Swerve look weak. Like, they should be more like the Japanese faction members who just like stay there. Like, just stay there, be supportive, and then just like watch their leaders back. And man, I just don't know about Parker and this painted dude. Just like not a lot of personality as of now. But I did see some nice spots, like the mid-air catch German suplex by Swerve as Fox goes for a cutter. Another is like the one where Fox gets launched off the turnbuckle, and then he rolls Swerve up. That was pretty sick too. But there was like a terrible spot that's so Cirque du Soleil, and it's the one where they like link hands, they do this like dance routine, and then it ends with a cutter, and then the crowd chanted, "This is awesome." Like, it wasn't. Yeah, this spot was terrible. And so the finish is like a Death Valley driver, followed by the double foot stomp to the throat for the win. And I think the double foot stomp to the throat is just like a terrible finisher, because you can't really make it look good, because you can't jump on someone's throat. Like, the professional foot stomp by Keno, as well as like the coup de grace, like works. It can be controlled, it's like a step to the chest, it still looks good, and you still make contact. But the double foot stomp to the throat, like he just steps on the sides. It doesn't even look like he makes contact. It was terrible. What a shit finisher. Like, Swerve is capable of like all of these moves, but he has to do this. It's shit. So yeah, for the top 3 spots of the match, number 3 is the mid-air German suplex catch. Second is the roll-up. And for the number 1 spot, it's the Death Valley driver to the apron. And I think I'm very partial to apron spots. It's the hardest part of the ring. Can't really fault me there. So after this is the Soraya and Shid Storm promo. And it's a bit of a stretch by Soraya to call AEW's women's division the best women's division in the world. Like, Stardom, Impact, Tokyo Joshi Pro. She also sets herself up for failure. I think like any other TV protagonist, when like she doesn't think about her actions, she goes the extra mile to call the person she picks as the best women's wrestler, like unintentionally insulting the other woman. And so she picks Toni Storm and like pisses off Shida. And she just completely ignores her. And I don't like this shit because Shid is the best, and she shouldn't put over Soraya, who's like extremely rusty in the ring. But as for Shida, why care? It's not even for the title, it's just a match. That yes, you have a chance to pin the champion and get a shot, but why not take the day off? You still have Japan bookings. Go and beat Jade or something. So yeah, the baby faces are looking a lot less put together than the heels. The heels are like 100% chemistry, extremely loyal to each other, while the baby faces are like being torn apart at the seams by one of their members. Like, who would you really want to side with here in this feud? And who gives about the story about the partner and stuff? It's like a very old school feud. Why even? And so after this is the Guns FTR Rip segment, and this is exactly how I wanted them to like act, to react to their win. They just overblow everything, and in like the best moment, because FTR can't even respond because they're in Japan. No, they're not getting buried. They just had to lose all the titles because it's not AEW's decision. Dax and Cash are probably taking a break, and they're being rebuilt and repurposed for the AEW Tag Team Championships. And if they leave, I hope they go under Vince McMahon. I hope they enjoy every second of Vince McMahon. But I do believe they'll come back, they'll beat the Guns, and then I think at the pay-per-view at Revolution, will challenge the Acclaimed, and they're gonna turn heel. Come on, there's no way that the Acclaimed are gonna be heels. Yeah, this was like a segment to move on the feud, keep FTR in everyone's minds, and just like make their win a lot sweeter before they turn heel on the Acclaimed. So after this is Jade Cargill and Red Velvet versus Sky Blue and Kiera Hogan. So yeah, how do I talk about this match without being too mean? And without just tearing the fun out of this review? Because I fucking hate this match, man. It's just the worst. No one was out here to work. I'm not gonna talk about the match because I didn't enjoy watching this. I'm not gonna get some screenshots rewatching this piece of shit. But what I think is more egregious is that the breakup between Red Velvet and Jade happens in such a nothing segment. It's such a nothing match. Kiera Hogan and Sky Blue had no chance. Even if Red Velvet betrayed Jade, what's gonna happen? It would have been better if, Kiera Hogan teamed up with a person to actually beat Jade for the title. To hand her her first loss. And second, right after this. They just wasted it on nothing. Why even? Jade just won, and Red Velvet got a free win out of it, but it ultimately achieved nothing. And now the only baddie left is the one that Jade never wanted. Who the fuck watches this storyline, man? What's going on here? Jade performed well, she looked good, nice bro kick, but that's it. The rest of the match is so bad. And why break up the baddies? I mean, it's not getting stale yet, for me. Why not just have Kiera Hogan do her own thing and just kept Red Velvet with Jade? God. But yeah, I did like the strong spots, a bro kick, so I guess Jade's pretty okay. I think here, it's the people around her that fails her. But yeah, this match is TV undercard. It's not dark bad. It's not the New Japan Rambo that I could not watch. Or the Noah fucking second match of the show with Inamura and Kitamiya against, I forgot, and it's better that way. So after this is the TNA Boys Battle of the Belts, build up. The rematch happens so fast, I think. It shouldn't happen on Battle of the Belts because it's basically a rampage and it gets lesser ratings. This could have happened anywhere else. Maybe next week on Dynamite or the week after that, just to build the feud some more. But Jeff Jarrett is so pissed off, and he's such a good promo. Very straight to the point, with some boomer lines, that it's so good. And it works so well as a heel. Because of how AEW fans, pretty much despise Old Man Yells at Cloud. But yeah, the match turns out to be better than the one here on Dynamite. And Sanjay Dutt is just the best. With Jarrett, as second place, but is also good. But I might not review Battle of the Belts because it's pretty much too late. It's 2 days until Dynamite, so sad. So after this is Samoa Joe versus Darby Allin. We have the main event. This is the most controversial thing in the entire show. And if it were me, if Joe and Darby didn't meet the first time, I think this would have served better as like just a 10-minute domination of Joe. Should have won here just to like prolong the feud, have them wrestle again at a later date at the pay-per-view, and then have Darby win there. Because Joe is like fire right now, but while I do think he's gonna win the title back, I totally understand why they had him lose here. It's Darby's hometown, it's their first time in Seattle, but who gives a shit, man? Just have Darby lose. But yeah, I have like maybe like 3 or 4 other people in front of Darby of that line to like beat Joe. And like number 1, it's Konosuke Takeshita, like undeniably. Next is Eddie Kingston, Ricky Starks, and then Darby. Like, Darby doesn't need the belt right now for me. It's a feel-good win, but I think he's gonna lose it. But it happened already, so no use crying over spilled milk. So the match itself could have also been longer because only like 10 or 11 minutes are left. And the start was so action-packed, they had to like compress the match. We start with an attack on like the wrestler Nick Wayne, who's the son of Darby's trainer and I think has wrestled on Dark as well as Ric Flair's last match. And he's pretty good, but very high flyery, not like a seller yet. Pretty spot monkey-ish. But what a great storyline moment. And I think Joe is protected enough. Darby attacks him. He's buffed, he turns Super Saiyan, and then he like uses weapons before the bell rings to like just give it to Joe. He uses a skateboard. He does like a skateboard trick on him and then he jumps on Joe. It's like a senton from the ladder to the like below the stage part. But then Joe repays him in kind, dominates the rest of the match, and like throws him to the post and Darby takes a sick bump. But I think Joe has this like one skill that really sets him apart from other bigger dudes because he's a methodical wrestler, very slow, plodding sort of dude, but his like body language and swagger and how he like asserts dominance keeps me at looking at my phone. Because this happens with some other dudes, like Ethan Page. Dude is just like slow for slow's sake, while Joe is slow for a reason. Jay White, slow for a reason. He doesn't get up a level though. Unlike Joe, climax of the match is when Joe removes the turnbuckle pad, and then this sets him up for defeat because like after the rear naked choke spot, the like trap card spot that Joe does, he just springs out of nowhere with that rear naked choke, launches Joe to the exposed turnbuckle, effectively protecting him, code blue, coffin drop for the win. So yeah, this match, real good. I'm gonna give it a rating of TV main event, pay-per-view undercard, but I don't like the winner. Love how he won though. Great finish. So number 3 spot of the match is the turnbuckle spot where Darby takes a sick bump. Number 2 is the senton off of the ladder. And the number 1 is the finish. So Darby Allin, new TNT champion, crowd goes home happy. But as for this Dynamite, it has like consistent matches. Except one, which was terrible, but it doesn't have a match that like warrants the occasion of the first show of the new era. I like the Acclaimed versus the TNA Boys match, and I think I gave it a higher rating than it deserved. It's a TV main event, pay-per-view undercard match, but it's still match of the night. Segments were also good, but nothing much that like is transcendent. Mox versus Danielson is promo of the night, and it's mostly because of the mentioning of the 3 podcasters that AEW fans hate the most. So yeah, above average show, but very close to average. I still had fun, enjoyed myself, but watching Wrestle Kingdom and the New Year just like killed all of these matches for me. Omega vs. Ospreay is just untoppable. So yeah, go watch those reviews, go watch my top 20 matches of 2022. Like, comment, and subscribe for engagement. Share if you don't know me. Hit that bell notification for future videos. And please, watch my shit.